Good evening, I'm your host Prasad and you're watching KiniNews. It's been an exciting day, especially with Parliament back in session. It was pure chaos for more than half an hour as opposition MPs demanded to debate the seizure of Petronas assets by those linked to the Sulu sultanate.
Perhutanan negara. Tarik balik! Selaras dengan itu, sesi libat urus pindaan Akta 313 telah diadakan bersama dengan pihak iaitu.
The Dewan Rakyat sitting today turned chaotic after the motion to debate the seizure of Petronas assets by the purported heirs of the Sulu sultanate was rejected. Speaker Azhar Azizan Harun cited subjudice rules which prevent the lower house from debating matters in court. MPs including Ram Karpal Singh accused Azhar of conflict of interest as the latter's brother Idrus Harun is involved in the Petronas matter in his capacity as Attorney General. After rejecting this notion, Azhar ordered Energy and Natural Resources Minister Taqiyuddin Hassan to proceed with the second reading of the National Forestry Amendment Bill 2022. However, some MPs did not let up, with Kota Badut MP Isna Raiza Munira Majlis pointing out that this was a matter of national sovereignty. As the MPs continued to talk over Taqiyuddin, an audibly frustrated Azhar shouted at them.
Speaker, ini soal kedaulatan negara lagi penting lagi.
Tolonglah. Duduk.
Ini lagi penting.
Silakan yang Pak Menteri.
Apa cerita hutan ini kedaulatan negara yang tercemar, Bani?
This failed to quell the dissenting MPs who continued to protest his decision. Not long after, Deputy Speaker Rashid Hasnun tapped in to oversee the Dewan Rakyat proceedings. Continued protests then prompted Rashid to warn Isna Raiza to sit down, to which she refused, resulting in him issuing a 2-day suspension against her. However, she refused to budge as the MPs closed ranks around her to prevent the Dewan Rakyat, Sergeant-at-Arms, from physically ejecting her. The MPs continued to voice objections and pressured for a debate as Taqiyuddin read the second reading of his bill in the background. After several minutes of this, Rashid relented and said he would retract the suspension against Isna Raiza if she would abide by the rules. He also said that his hands were tied on the debate and asked those unhappy to write an appeal today. Najib had a lot to say about the speeches delivered by Anwar Ibrahim and Rafizi Ramli at the PKR Congress over the weekend. As expected, he didn't have many good things to say. Najib Abdul Razak has slammed PKR President Anwar Ibrahim and his deputy Rafizi Ramli over their remarks at the party congress yesterday. Anwar had in his speech repeated his controversial promise to reduce petrol prices the very next day if he ever becomes a Prime Minister. He said the previous Pakatan Harapan government could not fulfill this as he was not the Premier. Najib shot back that this was a recycled, pungent populist promise. He noted that Malaysia's petrol prices are among the 10 cheapest in the world. Writing on Facebook, Najib added that maybe Anwar will make the country's petrol prices cheaper than in Venezuela. Venezuela has the cheapest petrol prices in the world. However, it also suffered from what economists say is the world's worst economic collapse over the past decade. Meanwhile, Rafizi in his speech called on PKR members to lodge police reports against Najib over the latest alleged lies. The former Premier countered that this was a weak and childish move from the PKR Deputy President. Najib claimed that Rafizi was seeking backup after failing to rebut his remarks on social media. The Pekan MP also said that his writings on social media are not lies and are based on facts. Now back to Parliament. Who would have guessed that the rising cost of living is a tricky subject? It's so tricky that Ismail Sabri still does not have answers, despite having the National Recovery Council and the Jihad Against Inflation Special Task Force. Prime Minister Ismail Sabri Yaakob told Parliament today that implementing targeted subsidies to help those most in need is a complex matter that's not as easy as ABC. He said, for example, while using subsidized palm oil is not allowed for commercial purposes, there are low-income earners who make a living by doing so.
Makcik-makcik yang jual goreng pisang, mereka tak boleh menggunakan minyak masak untuk kegunaan jual goreng pisang. Itu salah. Sebab minyak masak paket ini tidak boleh untuk komersial. Jadi salah. Jadi, tapi adakah penguatkuasa nak saman makcik tukang masak ni atau rampas minyak masak mereka? Nanti dituduh kita zalim pula kepada rakyat yang miskin ini, yang nak menjual kais pagi, makan pagi ini. Jadi bukan sesuatu yang mudah seperti ABC.
The Premier added that anyone regulating subsidized cooking oil would not have the heart to take action. He was responding to opposition leader Anwar Ibrahim, who sought answers on how the government was tackling the rising cost of living. Anwar had called the government to force palm oil companies making huge profits to allocate 10 to 15% of their output to be sold at low prices. Ismail Sabri replied that there are multiple challenges in ensuring cheaper oil gets to the right hands. He cited the smuggling of subsidized oil across the border as an example. Ismail Sabri said this is a big problem that the government is ramping up efforts to crack down on. On petrol subsidies, the Prime Minister pointed out that this has been studied by multiple administrations, including Harapan, but a concrete solution still hasn't been put to the test. Anwar, however, said if the government had the political will, it could lower prices for the B60.
Land and forestry matters have been under the control of the respective state governments. However, according to BN's Aziz, it's time that changed. Let us know in the comments if you agree.
An UMNO lawmaker wants state governments to no longer be given full autonomy over land and forestry matters as provided under the federal constitution. Baling MP Abdul Aziz Abdul Rahim said the recent flood which hit his constituency showed that there is need for the federal government to intervene in land matters.
Dan kita minta kerajaan pusat, kerajaan persekutuan bukan lepas ini bagi kuasa sepenuhnya kepada kerajaan negeri. No more. Sebab dah banyak isu ini berlaku.
He said, for example, states must get approval from Putrajaya if they want to excise forest reserves for development. Aziz pointed out that the current power demarcation over land could lead to situations where the federal government is in the dark about what the state has done to its forests. Baling was ravaged by floods 2 weeks ago that killed 3 people and displaced hundreds of others. Many have blamed the disaster on deforestation of Gunung Inas to make way for a durian plantation. The durian farm project itself was supposed to be a rubber tree logging plantation. Aziz added that each time disaster strikes, state governments are unable to cope, requiring federal government and its agencies to provide aid and disaster relief.
UMNO is still waiting for an answer from the ROS, and they're hoping to get some help from someone who used to be from the party.
As UMNO continues waiting for the Registrar of Societies to decide on its fate, Party Secretary General Ahmad Mazlan has taken a jab at his Bersatu counterpart Hamza Zainuddin. Speaking in an interview last night, Ahmad said Hamza, who is also the Home Minister, would surely help UMNO through its troubles. On July 7th, the ROS said that a decision on UMNO's constitutional amendment application was to be revealed at the very latest by July 16th. The party had sought approval from the ROS to amend its constitution. This is in order to enable the postponement of the party polls until 6 months after a general election. However, the registrar has yet to respond to UMNO's request. Ahmad said that the ROS still has 1 or 2 weeks to decide on the party's application. He also said that Hamza would intervene in UMNO's favour. Additionally, Ahmad expressed his hope that Hamza would not face any obstacles in assisting UMNO. Yesterday, Hamza said that he lacked authority over the ROS despite it being under his ministry. The Home Minister had stressed to reporters that he did not have the authority to resolve UMNO's ROS troubles.
The Crackhouse duo have finally raised enough money to post bail thanks to crowdfunding.
Rights group Lawyers for Liberty has raised 40,000 ringgit as bail money for the couple behind the Crackhouse open mic fiasco. According to Siti Nur Amira Abdullah's lawyer, any additional amount raised will be returned to the contributors. R. Sivaraj said the refund would be processed after the rightful owner provides their details. However, the duo Siti Nur Amira and Alexander Navin Vijayachandran may not be able to post bail today. The lawyer said this would depend on whether the court will be able to process it in time. He said given that the duo are in Beranang and Kuala Kubu Baru, it is uncertain if they will be released today or tomorrow. Siti Nur Amira last Wednesday pleaded not guilty to a charge of causing disharmony among the Muslim community during her performance at Crackhouse Comedy Club on June 4th. She was charged under Section 298A of the Penal Code, which carries a penalty of no less than 2 years and not more than 5 years in jail. Sessions Court Judge Siti Amina Ghazali granted her bail of 20,000 with 1 surety.
On the same day, Alexander pleaded not guilty to 2 counts of uploading insulting content on social media. He was charged with uploading content with the intention to insult other people on Instagram on June 5th and YouTube on June 16th, respectively.
Another day, another scandal uncovered. The latest one involves the Penjana Kerjaya program, and thanks to Ops Hire, dozens of people have been detained.
The MACC has detained around 40 people as part of ongoing investigations codenamed Ops Hire. According to sources, the operation involves the Human Resources Ministry and the Social Security Organization, SOCSO. It is unclear if any staff members have been detained. On July 15th, the MACC reportedly remanded 37 individuals to assist in investigations into allegations of false claims and misappropriation of the Employment Recruitment Incentives Program, Penjana Kerjaya funds amounting 100 million ringgit. The investigations are being conducted in collaboration with SOCSO, and the suspects comprise company owners, directors, managers, shareholders, engineers and executives. Yesterday, MIC Deputy President M. Saravanan did not rule out the possibility that several individuals from MIC were involved in the Penjana Kerjaya scandal. The Human Resources Minister was quoted as saying by the Star that although he did not have any information on the matter, he could not deny that some party members could be involved. According to the Daily, Saravanan had claimed that the involvement of the individuals was not related to the party, adding that he would not compromise with anyone involved in criminal activities. He said this in response to questions over claims that the MACC had detained some MIC leaders last week over the scandal. Since the start of Ops Hire, which began on July 13th, individuals have been remanded in several states across Peninsular Malaysia. According to a source, 67 companies have been investigated and 36 accounts with a total value of more than 7 million ringgit have been frozen. A chief clerk who worked in a government department was among those who were remanded at the Johor MACC office.
And that is all from me today. For more stories, you can go to KiniTV.com. You can also follow us on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube and Facebook for the latest news updates. If you'd like to support independent media, do consider subscribing to MalaysiaKini.com. I'm Prasad. Thank you for watching.